You just put it up to a light and take a look at it, and you can see if it's in there. It's clean on the inside. These mops work really well. They obviously, you see how black this one is. They use them up pretty fast. So you could anything you can get in there. Maybe cut up. I've used pieces of towel before. Anything you can cut up if you have really big patches. I don't have any of the big patches right now, so I just use whatever I have around. These work pretty well. I use a 357 one for the chamber, but we'll get to that. Okay, so the gas tube is clean on the inside. I guess we can move on to. Oh, you know what? I forgot to talk about the actual firing pin for the bolt. So while I'm thinking about it, you want to keep it pretty much free of oil. I'll just dab it on my finger, just a little dab of CLP, just on the spring, and that's it really. You want to keep that chamber completely free of oil, because then any oil that you introduce inside of, or not the chamber, but the inside of the actual bolt, you want to keep that free of oil, because anything you introduce into there is just going to collect grit. So that's all I do is just put a little bit of CLP on there, and you can slap that back into the bolt. Okay, now we'll move on to, let's see, move on to the upper receiver next. Okay, we're taking a look at the gas piston, or some people like to call it the operating rod. I do pretty much the same thing, just a little bit of oil. Just use my finger. Some people don't like to do that, but it's worked fine for me. I just dab a little bit of CLP on it, just on the spring. It's important to keep the actual head of the gas piston completely oil free, because the oil is going to get blown off anyway. As soon as you shoot it, the forces of the gas are going to blow all that off, and anything that stays on is actually going to bake on to the head of the gas piston, which makes it extremely hard to clean. I mean, you really have to get a brush and just scrub it to get it off. So you want to keep that oil free. I mean, you can wipe it down with a little bit of CLP if you're worried about, rusting or whatever, but you're going to wipe it completely dry. I tend to just leave it alone. Every once in a while, I might wipe it down. If I had a lot of, baked on crust there, I'll scrub it off and just put a little bit of CLP on it and just wipe it dry. But pretty much just clean this off. A little bit of light oil on the spring, and that's about it. If you have to get, if you don't want to take it down, you can grab yourself a Q-tip and just stretch the spring, and you can pretty much get into there. Any little places where you see grit in there, you can just stretch the spring a little bit like that and go through it. So that's about it. Just make sure that it's free of any grit, light oil on the spring, and avoid oil on the piston head. That's about it for that. Okay, we'll move on to the actual upper receiver. Move on to the upper receiver here. To get the rails clean, you can either use like a cleaning rod and run a patch through, scrub it through, or you can use that same method. I use that cleaning stick and I just get it in there, just run it the whole length of the rail with a little bit of CLP on it. Just get in there and just run the rails. You can see the crap that's coming off of it. Flip it over and just pretty much do the same thing. Just run it through there. Get all that crap. Just run it through the side, all the way back. Just get all that crap. Pull it out. Just make sure your rails are clean. I like to use grease on there, but I'm going to put the grease on afterwards, after I clean the chamber here just a little bit. Now, like I said, I like to use the 357 chamber brush, or the mop, whatever you want to call these. People call them different things. So I'm just going to turn this around here so you can see it. You just run that in, a little bit of CLP on it, just a little bit. I'm just going to, you see that going in there, you go. I just clean that out, twirl it around a little bit just to get some in there, pull it back out. So I'll let the CLP just sit on there for a little while, and then I'll take a clean dry chamber mop and run it in there and get all the stuff out. You may or may not need a chamber brush depending on how much you've been shooting. Mine is clean, but sometimes you will get a lot of buildup in there, and you might need to scrub it out with a bristled brush. But mine is pretty good. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some gun slick here. Just take our gun slick, and I just like to run a little bit, just a little bit on the. Pull that off. Run a little bit at the edge of the rail here, just a little bit. Let's get it in there on both sides. So run a little in there on the opposite side, because when you put your bolt through there, it's going to spread that out. So just basically just scrub out the inside, clean out your rails, and then apply a little bit of CLP or whatever you want. Clean out your chamber. Now we're gonna run a patch through the actual barrel here. I don't need to scrub mine out, but I'll show you how to do it. But I'm gonna run a patch with some CLP through there, and then run a couple dry patches. So okay, we're gonna run a couple patches through. Actually, I'm gonna run one of the little felt buttons. So you take my patch worm here. I've got the little 22 caliber sizing adjustment on there. You just take the tip there, run your button through it, pull it all the way through, so it looks like that pretty much. I'm just going to take a little bit of CLP, just dab it on there, a couple drops on there, run it in. You take the pointed end, we're going to run it through the chamber. You just work it all the way in, run it all the way through the barrel. So it comes out the other side here. Sometimes it goes through the flash hider, and I need to straighten it out. Okay, I'm right now. There we go. Okay. So you just pull that up tight, wrap your hand around it. You can hear that. Let me sit it down. You can see all the crap it pulled off on the button. It's never going to be completely clean, but you just want to get it to where it's like maybe a light gray. I mean, you could sit there pulling patches all day. It's never going to come out perfectly clean. So we pull that off, we pull the button off. The button's going to get most of the crap out. It depends on how dirty your gun is. Mine barely has anything in there, so I really don't need to run that much stuff through it. But I'll run one of these, the little circles here, the cotton circles. You basically line it up in the middle, and you just pierce it through there, and do the exact same thing. Just feed it through. All the way to the end until it comes out. Just need to straighten that thing again. Just doing that. Hold on guys, 1 second. There we go. Okay. So you just get it through, wrap it around your hand again. Hear how tight that is. It gets a lot of contact in there. It's a decent little tool to use just to run patches and buttons. You can see all the crap it's pulling out of there. I would just keep running patches until it was at the level of cleanliness that I wanted. That's good enough just to demonstrate it here. Okay, so we've ran a patch through there. One thing I want to talk about is actually running your cleaning rod with your bristle brush on it, your cleaning brush. Let me switch ends on here real quick. So I got a standard copper 22 caliber bristle brush here. Just get it on my rod.